Eminem has mass-produced more feuds than most rappers have songs. From pop stars to magazine editors to his ex-wife's new husband, nobody has been safe for over 2 decades. So today, I'm breaking down every single victim of Eminem, what they did to earn a spot on his hit list, and how badly they got destroyed, starting with the handshake that launched a career of grudges, Everlast. In 1999, before Eminem had even finished becoming Eminem, he managed to make his first enemy, and the way it happened is almost too stupid to be real. Everlast, former frontman of House of Pain, attempted to shake Eminem's hand before a concert, a normal human interaction, but according to Everlast, it felt like he got egged, not punched, not insulted, egged. Whatever actually happened, Everlast took it as disrespect and started talking about it publicly. Here's the thing, a normal person moves on. Eminem responded with a full diss track called I Remember, released as a B-side to D12's Shit On You, an entire recorded, mixed, and mastered song over a greeting that went wrong, which is, proportional. The beef eventually got squashed after B Real from Cypress Hill stepped in as mediator. By 2014, the two were literally on the same track together on Busta Rhymes' Calm Down, from a botched handshake to sharing studio time. But what makes this one important is what it established. This was patient zero for the Eminem grudge machine. A failed handshake became the blueprint for how he'd handle every perceived slight for the next 25 years. If you think that's a petty reason to start a war, wait until you hear what Christina Aguilera did. Christina Aguilera made a passing comment about Eminem's lyrics during an MTV special in 1999. That's it. That's what started this. A pop star expressed mild disapproval on cable television, and Eminem responded by telling the entire planet she'd given oral sex to Carson Daly and Fred Durst. The allegations appeared on The Real Slim Shady in April 2000, and Aguilera's reps immediately called the claims disgusting, offensive, and above all, not true. But Eminem wasn't done. He then continued the attacks on Off the Wall with Redman that same summer, because apparently one of the biggest singles of the year wasn't enough real estate to make his point. Aguilera never released a direct response track, though her 2002 song Can't Hold Us Down with Lil' Kim was rumored to be an indirect shot back. What she did do was team up with Britney Spears at the 2000 MTV VMAs, where the two casually dismissed Eminem with a now iconic anyway while presenting together, so at least she got that one in. Here's where it gets weird though. Despite all of this, Aguilera showed up to the red carpet premiere of Eminem's film 8 Mile in what everyone took as a gesture of support. The woman got dragged across one of the biggest tracks of the decade and still walked the carpet for his movie. I don't know what to tell you. But if you think Eminem only went after pop stars who criticized his lyrics, wait until you hear what happened when Will Smith questioned his entire artistic philosophy on live television. Will Smith. Here's what makes this one so fascinating. Will Smith never fired back. Not once. Not in a track, not in an interview, not even in passing. He just let Eminem scream into the void for 2 decades straight. The tension started before the diss track even existed. DJ Jazzy Jeff revealed that Will Smith told Eminem early on, "You are either going to be the biggest flop in hip-hop, or you are going to be the biggest thing that we have ever seen in hip-hop," which is, not exactly a warm welcome. Then at the 1999 MTV VMAs, Smith's Miami beat Eminem's My Name Is for Best Male Video. That stung. But the real trigger came during Smith's Grammy acceptance speech, where he told the crowd he'd never used profanity in his records and that rap doesn't need curses to succeed. The audience loved it. Eminem did not. People connected to Interscope and Aftermath confirmed that Eminem took the comment as a direct attack on his entire artistic approach. Not a difference of opinion, a personal shot. So Eminem did what Eminem does. He responded on The Real Slim Shady with one of the most quoted bars in rap history. Will Smith don't gotta cuss in his raps to sell records. Well, I do, so fuck him and fuck you too. And Will Smith's response to all of this? Silence. Complete, total, unbroken silence. For over 20 years. He never addressed it in music, never mentioned it in interviews. Never acknowledged the feud existed. One of the most iconic Eminem lines of all time came from a beef where the other person simply refused to show up. But if you think a one-sided war of words is strange, wait until you hear about the guy who picked a fight with Eminem at the Grammys and lived to regret it. Moby. Moby had arguably the most legitimate criticism of anyone on this list. At the 2001 Grammy Awards, While Eminem was sitting there with 4 nominations, Moby publicly called him a misogynist, a homophobe, a racist, and an anti-Semite. And honestly, those weren't wild accusations pulled from nowhere. The man had genuine ethical concerns about Eminem's lyrics and their potential impact. It was a thoughtful, principled stance from a respected musician. Eminem's response was to mock his appearance, his age, and threaten violence, which is, not ideal. On 2002's Without Me, Eminem fired back with the now iconic line, "And Moby? You can get stomped by Obi," reportedly called him a 36-year-old bald-headed fag, and made sure the music video depicted Moby directly so that even your grandmother who'd never heard a rap song would know exactly who was getting roasted. Moby, to his credit, expressed genuine bewilderment at the intensity of it all, saying he didn't even take it personally. But Eminem was not finished. At the 2002 MTV VMAs, he launched into a full tirade against Moby on stage. The audience started booing. Eminem's response? "Keep booing, little girl. I will hit a man with glasses." The crowd did not love that. And then, in what might be the single funniest image in the history of rap beefs, Eminem nearly struck Robert Smigel's Triumph the Insult comic dog puppet, a literal hand puppet. One of hip-hop's most dangerous lyricists was so worked up about a bald electronic musician that he almost punched a dog made of felt on live television. Moby raised valid points about artistic responsibility. Eminem responded by threatening a puppet. I don't know what to tell you, but if Moby's crime was criticizing Eminem from outside the hip-hop world, the next guy tried to destroy him from inside it. Benzino. Every other feud on this list was rapper versus rapper. This one was rapper versus institution, and that's what made it the most dangerous beef Eminem has ever been in. It started in 2002 when The Eminem Show dropped. The album was a commercial juggernaut, but it failed to receive the Source magazine's coveted 5-mic rating. Now, 5 mics from the Source was basically the hip-hop equivalent of a Michelin star. It meant your album was a classic, and Eminem didn't get it. He believed the reason was simple. Benzino, the co-owner of The Source, personally blocked it. Benzino's argument was that Eminem was a white artist, appropriating hip-hop culture, capitalizing on a genre he hadn't earned credibility in, and instead of just saying that into a microphone and moving on, Benzino used his entire magazine as a weapon. He ran editorial attacks on Eminem and Interscope-affiliated artists, sent freestyle disses to K-Slay's Drama Hour radio show, and essentially turned The Source into a personal vendetta machine. Former employees later confirmed exactly that, expressing concerns that Benzino was exploiting his editorial position for a grudge. Eminem responded with Nail in the Coffin, which did exactly what the title promised. But Benzino wasn't done. In November 2003, he and The Source held a full press conference to reveal a recording called Foolish Pride from Eminem's high school days. The tape contained racial slurs against black women. This wasn't a diss track. This was an attempt to end Eminem's entire career. Eminem apologized, calling the recordings expressions of youthful ignorance. He also filed a lawsuit against The Source for copyright infringement over the unauthorized use of his recordings. The dust eventually settled, and in 2012, a full decade later, Benzino publicly apologized for targeting him. But here's the thing. Every other person on this list attacked Eminem's ego. Benzino attacked his legitimacy. He tried to erase Eminem's right to even exist in hip-hop, and he almost pulled it off. But if Benzino brought institutional warfare, the next guy brought something way more personal. J.A. Rule. Eminem has said the most vile, offensive, horrifying things imaginable about his own mother, his ex-wife, celebrities, politicians, you name it. The man built an entire empire on saying the unsayable. But there was always one rule. One line that, if you crossed it, turned him from a rapper into something genuinely dangerous. Ja Rule crossed it. The beef technically started in September 2002, when Ja Rule told The Source magazine to warn Eminem to get 50 Cent under control. 50 had been publicly tearing into Ja Rule for months, and Ja figured if he couldn't shut 50 up, he'd go over his head, which is, not ideal as a strategy when the guy over 50's head is Eminem. But the real moment, the one that turned this from a standard rap feud into something personal, came on April 4th, 2003. Ja Rule dropped Loose Change, and in it he rapped, you claim your mother's a crackhead and Kim is a known slut, so what's Haley gonna be when she grows up? Here's the thing. He took Eminem's own lyrics and flipped them into a prediction about his daughter's future, a child. The guy who insulted everyone on Earth finally had someone use his own playbook against him. aimed at the one person he'd burn the world down to protect. Eminem responded 11 days later on DJ Green Lantern's Invasion Part 2 mixtape, with the kind of energy that suggested this was no longer entertainment. Jaw fired back with Clapback in October. Eminem hit back with Jaw in a Bra, back and forth, track after track, consuming the first half of the 2000s for both of them. J. Rule later claimed he planned on slapping Eminem at the 2003 Grammys. The two never ran into each other, probably for the best. But if J. Rule thought dragging Eminem's daughter into a rap beef was bad, wait until you hear about the woman who denied ever dating him. Mariah Carey. This is the longest feud on the entire list, and honestly, it might be the most uncomfortable one too. Because Eminem didn't just take shots at Mariah Carey and move on, he kept coming back, for over 20 years. It starts in 2001 when Eminem claimed in interviews that he and Carey had almost worked together, but that his personal dislike for her killed the collaboration. Fair enough. But then on 2002's The Eminem Show, the track Superman included the line, "What you trying to be my new wife? What, you Mariah? Fly through twice." So now we're not just talking about a failed studio session. We're talking about an alleged relationship. Eminem would go on to claim they dated for over 6 months and were intimate once. Carey has denied this, consistently, for 2 decades. Things went quiet for a while. Then 2009 happened. Eminem dropped Bagpipes from Baghdad on his album Relapse, targeting both Carey and her new husband Nick Cannon. Less than 2 weeks later, Carey released Obsessed, widely interpreted as her response. The music video featured her dressed as an obsessed stalker in baggy clothes, chains, and a dark goatee. Subtle it was not, but here's where it gets genuinely unsettling. Eminem responded with The Warning, produced by Dr. Dre, and this track went into explicit detail about their alleged relationship. He included Mariah Carey's actual voicemail recordings in the song. Without her permission, he also threatened to release sexual photographs and audio of her, which is, not ideal. As of 2024, those photos and recordings have never surfaced. Make of that what you will. Here's the thing that makes this feud different from every other one on this list. Carey figured out the cheat code. She just stopped engaging. When she released her memoir, The Meaning of Mariah Carey, in 2020, she chose not to address the feud in any real detail. Meanwhile, Eminem was still firing shots as recently as 2019, hopping on Fat Joe's Lord Above to take yet another swing at a woman who had moved on a full decade earlier. Silence, it turns out, is the one weapon Eminem has zero defense against. But if you think Eminem was done dragging people connected to Mariah, wait until you hear what happened with her husband, Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon never started a fight with Eminem. He married the wrong woman. That's it. That's the entire origin story. Cannon walked into a relationship with Mariah Carey and inherited a grudge that had been building for the better part of a decade, like buying a house and finding out it comes with a very angry ghost who keeps writing songs about you. When Eminem dropped Bagpipes from Baghdad in 2009, the track explicitly targeted both Carey and her newly wedded husband. Cannon wasn't even the main target. He was a footnote in someone else's war. But here's the thing. Cannon didn't just take it quietly. He went public, saying he felt sorry for Eminem and that the rapper's fixation on his wife suggested some kind of unresolved emotional disturbance. Which is, not the safest thing to say about a man who once put Mariah Carey's voicemails on a Dr. Dre beat. The feud went dormant for a full decade. Then in 2019, Eminem hopped on Fat Joe's Lord Above and fired shots at both Cannon and Carey again, because apparently 10 years wasn't enough cooling off time. Cannon's initial response was almost dignified. He declared the diss was not worthy of a response, and then he released a diss track called The Invitation. So that lasted about 45 minutes. Eminem mocked him on Twitter. Cannon responded on Instagram stories baiting Eminem to come out and play, which is the energy of a golden retriever challenging a wolf to a wrestling match. Then Cannon released 3 diss tracks against Eminem in a single month. 3. Against the greatest diss rapper alive. The sheer audacity of releasing 3 diss tracks in 30 days against the man who wrote Killshot is either the bravest or the most delusional thing anyone has ever done in hip-hop. I genuinely can't tell which. The whole feud plays like 2 completely different arguments. Eminem treated it like genuine warfare, Cannon treated it like content, and somehow that made the whole thing funnier than any actual punchline either of them landed. But if you think Cannon was outmatched, wait until you hear about the guy who tweeted about Eminem's teenage daughter and lived to regret it. Machine Gun Kelly. In 2012, a 22-year-old rapper named Machine Gun Kelly hopped on Twitter and called Eminem's daughter Haley hot as foss. She was 16. And then, for reasons that defy all survival instinct, he just went about his life like nothing happened. Like the girl's father wasn't the single most dangerous diss rapper walking the planet. 6 years. 6 entire years of silence. No response, no subliminals, no warning shots. Just Eminem sitting in a room somewhere, presumably sharpening a pencil. Then in August 2018, Eminem dropped the surprise album Kamikaze, and on a track called Not Alike, there it was, MGK's name, a direct reference to the tweet. Accusations of sneak dissing over the years. The whole thing delivered with the calm precision of a man who had been thinking about this for over 2,000 days. Which is, not ideal if you're Machine Gun Kelly. Here's where it gets interesting though. When Eminem was asked about the diss in an interview, he didn't even lean on the daughter angle. He said his reason for going after MGK was actually a lot more petty than the tweet about Haley. He never clarified what that meant. I don't know what to tell you. MGK, to his credit, didn't run. Within days, he dropped Rap Devil, a play on Eminem's Rap God, targeting his age and claiming he was past his prime. Genuinely catchy track. The internet lost its mind. For about 4 days, people actually debated whether MGK had a shot. Then on September 14th, 2018, Eminem released Kill Shot, and the debate ended. A brutal technical dismantling of everything MGK had said, done, and claimed to be. Bar for bar, it wasn't close. But the best part, MGK's response wasn't another track. It was an interview where he called the song a leg shot and claimed they'd actually settled their beef privately 6 years ago. The man got publicly dismantled in front of the entire internet and walked away calling it a flesh wound. You almost have to respect the delusion. But if MGK got the full Eminem experience condensed into a single month, the next target got something worse. A slow, simmering dismissal that hit different. Joe Budden. Every other person on this list did something to provoke Eminem. They insulted his daughter, they denied sleeping with him, they blocked his album rating, they called him a racist. Joe Budden just said his music wasn't good anymore. And honestly, he had a point. Budden, a former rapper turned podcaster, had been publicly critical of Eminem's later output for a while. He went after Walk on Water, he went after Untouchable, he criticized Eminem's decision to sign a group to Shady Records and force his own formula onto artists who weren't built for it. This wasn't a personal vendetta. This was a guy who loved hip-hop looking at one of its greatest ever and saying, "You can do better than this." Eminem, naturally, did not take this well. On the surprise album Kamikaze, Eminem addressed Budden by name on the track Fall, and by Eminem standards, the bar was almost polite. It was less, "I will end your career," and more, "I noticed you talking." Budden's response, he fired back with one of the most audacious claims in the history of rap commentary. "I've been better than you this whole fucking decade." That is an outrageous thing to say to Eminem. Genuinely unhinged levels of confidence. But Budden wasn't challenging Eminem on personal grounds. He wasn't dragging his family into it. He was looking the greatest rapper alive in the eye and telling him his art had declined. And then, instead of dropping a diss track, he just went back to podcasting. It didn't matter that Budden's criticism was professional. It didn't matter that the provocation was, by any reasonable standard, the mildest on this entire list. Eminem heard someone say his name with anything less than reverence, and he reached for the pen, which is the entire thesis of this video. It doesn't matter who you are or what you said. If Eminem decides you've crossed him, you're getting a bar. Nobody is safe. Nobody has ever been safe. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.